Hey everybody, Melissa Mackenzie, publisher of the American Spectator, along with Scott McKay, contributing editor of the American Spectator and founder and chief poobah of Reviver.com and also the Hayride.com, and also the recent author again, repeat author of Racism, Something, and Ruin.
Racism, Revenge, and Ruin. It's all about.
I got the revenge, all ours.
Well, believe me, when you get to repeat it as often as I do in the publicity tour, which has begun in earnest. Yeah, I've got it all memorized.
Racist, Revenge,
I've even got like a talking point sheet that I'm not gonna look at while we're doing this podcast.
Okay, everybody, go out and buy his book. It is
available pre-order on Amazon, and November 21st is the official publication date. So you can get a copy in your hot little hand next week. And for all of your relatives who you need to get a Christmas gift, and the ones who say that Obama had the most, scandal-free presidency in history, right, get this book for them. Yeah, they're the ones that really need to read it, because they know they're like Jon Snow. They know nothing. They know nothing.
Yes. Okay. So getting into it, after everybody goes out and buy the book, let's talk about Marvel. And
you want to go see a movie? Do you want to not go see a movie? Because
I do not want to see this movie. I am sick to death of these movies. And when we were talking about this subject, which is that Kathleen Kennedy has absolutely killed the Marvel brand, and
the Star Wars brand,
and made everything woke. And everybody's making fun of it now, and she still has a job for reasons that are unfathomable. But to why the board of Disney hasn't gotten rid of this woman, I don't know. Why the shareholders haven't gotten rid of her, I don't know. But she still has a job, and she's literally killing. So this thing cost, you said, $275 million to make, and that is like $250 million again, sunk into oblivion. Yeah, I mean, how long can this go on? First weekend,
it did $6.7 million. And the first weekend's the best weekend.
The Chosen's done better than that. Just an episode of The Chosen has done better.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. So like this thing, this is one of the most thorough and complete disasters in motion picture history in terms of box office. So I mean, at this point, I agree with everything you said. Like, why hasn't the management gotten rid of Kathleen Kennedy? How come the board hasn't gotten rid of Kathleen Kennedy? How come the stockholders haven't gotten rid of Kathleen Kennedy? Those questions you're correct in asking all of them, but they're too small. The real question is, why hasn't Disney been taken over in a hostile takeover? Because if you can't, I mean, they've lost more than $1 billion on the movies they've put out in the last, 36 months? Okay. And like, you're supposed to make money.
Why they bring Bob Iger back when he's the cause of these problems too?
Well, but because they don't have any answers. That's the whole point. The place needs new ownership altogether. And I mean, I'm glad I don't have Disney stock, but at this point, what you're really looking at is somebody has to come in with an entirely new management team, and they have got to fire everybody at Disney and start over from scratch. And meanwhile,
I don't know if that's true. Can I just make a proposal here? Because Jon Favreau has presided over successful shows. He did The Mandalorian. He did all the Iron Man series. And the thing is with him is that he knows all the Star Wars lore, like he's deep into it. So the properties that he has touched have done well. And I remember watching this roundtable with Kathleen Kennedy was sitting there, and Jon Favreau was doing everything in his actorly physical power not to roll his eyes whenever she talked. And it was like a behind the scenes for the Mandalorian thing. And with that property, he had hired and brought along like 4 or 5 different directors. and then supervised them, and him and Filoni did, supervision over these new directors, helping them. And it was really great. Like, he brought them along and everything. I think that you put a guy like that who has deep understanding of that side, you bring the princess stuff back, and you stop with all of these other people. I think it's time for someone who actually loves these properties be in charge of these properties instead of trying to make them something they're not.
Yeah, but here's the thing. With practically the entire top management of Disney, you can't get the decision to make a Jon Favreau in charge of the Marvel universe or the Star Wars universe, right?
Because I think you should be in charge of both. Why can't you? I don't understand.
Well, I'm just saying, there's nobody that works above him at Disney that would make that hire. As obvious as a hire it might be, okay, that's not that. That's, first of all, he's a white guy. They don't want that. The white guys that are currently at Disney are all for keeping their jobs, but when new jobs open up, they're not for hiring any more white guys.
Right.
Which is actually, I tell you what, it's interesting. That's not just Disney, that's corporate America. Do you know, and I can't remember where I saw this stat, but it wasn't like a fringe place where I saw it. Since, I guess it was June, only 6% of all corporate hires in America have been white males.
That's straight up blatant discrimination.
Blow your mind kind of number, isn't it?
And the thing is, oh my goodness.
I mean, really, and part of me thinks that's actually a good thing, because the effect of that will be that it will force, I mean, and I'm not going to say like white guys are all the talent in the world. That's not true, but I mean, you're talking about but if you're saying corporate wide, then you're talking engineers. Yeah.
Statistically speaking, the average man is better than 90% of women
in engineering.
In engineering specifically.
Well, I mean, and it's all kinds of things where you generally are going to get really good performance out of white guys. Right. And if you're denying yourself that resource of talent, what's going to happen is these guys all go to work for small and mid-sized companies. And over time, those companies kick the ass of woke corporate America, because they've all of a sudden got, access to this great talent base that these idiots at whatever, Gillette or Coca-Cola or friggin' Target or wherever, have completely wasted. I actually think it's a good thing, because, and we talked about, like, we need a forest fire to blow through all this underbrush, both in our economy and in our culture and in our politics and all this kind of stuff. So things that bring on the forest fire, I think, are good. And that's something that really will. But getting back to Disney, like, you don't have people in charge of Disney who have any talent at all, and they all have to go. And the only way you're going to get that kind of mass firing and replacement is with an entirely new management crew that comes in. And the only way you really get that is hostile takeover.
Sony needs to take them. Sony needs to take them over.
Are going to do it.
Sony needs to take them over. Sony's not politically correct. Any good property that has been recent, like the Spider-Man, where they were like pro-American, and it's because they're Japanese, so they don't have to, do all the kiss-ass stuff. Can I just go back to your point for a minute about the white man dude? One of the things that Jewish people have always done have been to be, because they can't work on the Sabbath, whatever, small business owners, people running their own
in charge of their own time. Yeah.
In charge of their own time. And so if white guys find themselves, walking into this buzzsaw, which they are, I'm hoping that they do something similar, which is their own individual startups, like Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, when they came into movies, they couldn't get roles, they couldn't get movies, so they wrote their own. Yep. Hopefully we have new studios and we have new things. Dallas Jenkins has created a flipping empire, and he's done it completely outside the studio system. Yep. And this is what's going to happen to disrupt things, because this has got to stop. It is just, it makes me crazy. The best person for the job should get the job, period, end of story. I don't care if you're male, female, whatever, but to ignore, 40% of the, work population base, which is, white males, is insane. And it's probably more than that, because there's a fair number of women who are outside the workforce having kids coming in and out. And so will only work part-time. And so they really shouldn't be included in the full-time, stats. And so you're purposely doing this to men. It makes me crazy. Makes me crazy. And it is disturbing to the economy, and it's going to be a problem long term.